At 3 a.m., a phone buzzes in a student dormitory in Boston. At dawn, a construction worker in Dubai checks the news before heading to work. In Toronto, a software engineer hesitates before renewing a visa. In Delhi, a family waits for a WhatsApp call from a son stranded overseas. None of them planned to become part of history, but in 2025, history found them anyway. This is not a year defined by one war or one election. It is a year when the world tilted, borders hardened, flights were cancelled, visas froze mid-process. For migrants, NRIs, and Indians living abroad, global unrest stopped being a headline and became personal. In this video, let us understand what 2025's global unrest really means, how wars, politics, and policies are reshaping migration, why NRIs are rethinking safety and belonging, and what these changes mean for Indians living and working abroad. Because global unrest does not stay global. It enters homes, bank accounts, immigration files, and identities. This is the story of migrants navigating a fractured world, of NRIs recalculating belonging, of Indians abroad learning that mobility, which was once a dream, is now a risk and a necessity. And this story is only beginning. By early 2025, the idea that the world was recovering after COVID quietly fell apart. Instead of stability, the world entered a phase of constant crisis. Wars in one region began affecting jobs, money, and markets everywhere. Elections changed migration rules overnight. Global politics started deciding who could stay, who could work, and who truly belonged. The Middle East became the most dangerous flashpoint. When tensions between Israel and Iran increased, it wasn't just about armies and missiles. Thousands of foreign nationals were suddenly stuck in the middle. Indian students, engineers, nurses, and technicians found themselves living inside a war zone, something they never imagined when they moved there. India launched an emergency rescue mission called Operation Sindhu, bringing thousands of Indians back home. But evacuation is not just about flights and passports. It comes with fear. Careers are put on hold. Degrees are left unfinished. Savings disappear. Life plans are pushed back by years. At the same time, Iran forced over 1 million Afghan migrants to leave, even though many had lived there for decades. Families were told to leave with very little notice. The message was clear. When countries feel unsafe, migrants are the first to be pushed out. For Indians living abroad, this was a serious warning, a reminder that life overseas can change overnight. If war shook the world, government policies made life even harder for migrants. Across Europe, many governments faced pressure from voters who wanted fewer immigrants. In response, asylum rules were quietly changed. Countries like India were placed on safe country lists. This meant that Indian asylum seekers now faced faster rejections, stricter proof requirements, and fewer chances to appeal. The logic was blunt. If you're Indian, you're probably not in real danger. But migrants know that reality is far more complicated. In the United States, the situation became especially tense in 2025. Donald Trump repeatedly warned that immigrants would be thrown out if rules were broken or visas expired. These statements were not just talk. ICE raids increased, deportations sped up, and many migrants began living in constant fear of a knock on the door. Visa systems also became more uncertain. H-1B workers, including thousands of Indians in tech and healthcare, faced delays, stricter checks, and renewed debates about whether their jobs should even exist. Students worried that one mistake, missing paperwork, losing a job, or a policy change, could end their American dream overnight. Indian nationals felt the impact immediately. Fewer people tried illegal crossings, not because they didn't want to migrate, but because the risks had become too high. One error could mean detention, deportation, and a permanent ban. For the Indian diaspora, a hard truth settled in. Legal status in today's world is not secure. It can change with a speech, an election, or a signature. For decades, being an NRI meant security, foreign currency, better infrastructure, global exposure. But 2025 exposed the cracks beneath that image. In Canada, housing shortages and job competition turned migrants into political targets. In Australia, anti-immigration protests openly named migrant communities. In parts of Europe, cultural integration debates grew harsher. Indians abroad found themselves asking uncomfortable questions. Am I welcome here or just tolerated? What happens if the economy slows further? If unrest spreads, will I be protected or blamed? This wasn't paranoia, it was pattern recognition. For millions of Indians, the Gulf remains home, but not their homeland. In 2025, oil-rich states remained relatively stable, but reforms continued to reshape migrant life. Localization policies, contract restructuring, and tighter compliance checks reminded workers of an old truth. In the Gulf, you build the country, but the country does not belong to you. Yet remittances kept flowing. Families in Kerala, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar continued to survive on money earned abroad. India remained the world's largest recipient of remittances, crossing $100 billion annually, a quiet backbone of the Indian economy. Between 2020 and 2025, nearly 1 million Indians renounced citizenship, not out of rejection of India, but out of necessity. India does not allow dual citizenship, so migrants had to choose between a stronger passport and a stable future for children or emotional ties to home. Global unrest accelerated these decisions. People who were waiting and watching were forced to decide. For some, India felt safer. For others, leaving felt irreversible. The old story said that people migrate for money. But the year 2025 proved that migration is now about stability, safety, predictability, rule of law, climate resilience, and geopolitical distance. For many families, the question is no longer, where can I earn more? It is, where will my life be least disrupted? Parents are thinking about school systems and citizenship for their children. Professionals are thinking about how quickly visas can be cancelled or renewed. Businesses and workers are thinking about what happens when borders suddenly close. Indians are not just moving west, they are spreading risk across countries, passports, assets, and identities. Migration has become strategy, not just survival or ambition. As the world becomes more divided, migrants will continue to live between countries, systems, and policies. Many developed countries have aging populations and still need Indian workers in technology, healthcare, construction, and services. At the same time, countries dealing with political or economic pressure are likely to tighten their borders and change rules more often. Diaspora communities will matter more than before. Governments will listen to them when things are stable, but watch them more closely during times of crisis. For India, the global Indian community is no longer just about culture or image. It plays a real role in the economy, diplomacy, and global influence. For Indians living abroad, 2025 brings a practical lesson. Belonging can change, rules can change, and planning ahead matters more than ever. This is the migrant life in 2025. Not hopeless, but alert. Not defeated, but cautious. A world on edge demands migrants who are informed, adaptable, and resilient. And for Indians abroad, the story continues, written across borders, in multiple currencies, under changing skies.